Good evening. Today we're going to talk about this idea of punctuating titles. This is our first grammar lesson, so keeping in mind, taking notes, have your notebook out and ready and prepared for this. There will be some type of quiz in class, an activity in class on this tomorrow. And we're starting with something simple and basic because this is something that you will use throughout the rest of your life, and especially getting used to this year with the large amounts of pieces of literature that we will be looking at and that we will be writing about. So it is important that you learn this basic thing and keeping in mind how you actually look at and punctuate titles. A lot of you will ask questions. A lot of you on a daily basis ask the teacher, is this in quote marks, or is this underlined, or is this italicized? Yes, that's all important, but there are certain structures and rules to this. So paying attention to them, and once you know the simple rule, it's very easy to understand how to take care of this. So first of all, let's focus on this idea of capitalization. When you're looking at a title, it is important that you look at three different aspects of the title. First of all, you always capitalize the beginning letter of the first word and the last word of a title. There is no exception to this. Yes, it looks like there are exceptions down here on what not to capitalize, but those take precedence. The idea of the first word and the last word take precedence over that right here. The other thing is the third part here, and all important words in the title. Important words are usually bigger words. They have more meaning, they have more emphasis. Now, looking at this idea of what not to capitalize, thinking of these idea of short words that really aren't important, that can really, I don't want to say be taken out of the title, but can really are unnecessary. So we look at this idea of short prepositions. There is a list of them here. This is not the only list. It's actually almost any preposition can be added to this list. These are just the more popular ones that we use on a regular basis. Then we have this idea of coordinating conjunctions. These are conjunctions that help pull things together and link things. They coordinate things. There are only 7 of them, so this list is actually complete. And then we have this idea of articles, a, an, and the. These are basic articles. Now, the articles, what you will notice the most here is if they show up as the first word of a title, it is capitalized. So if a title starts with the word the is capitalized, even though here it says what not to capitalize. Okay, now I'm going to show you a couple samples that are uncapitalized. There are 3 of them. I want you to write them down in your notes, and I want you to write them with the proper capitalization. I want you to pause this to do this, and then when you hit play, we're going to go over the answers together. So go ahead and hit pause now, and I'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay, now that we're back, we're going to look at this idea of what should be capitalized here. Now, keeping in mind the rules that we had up here with the first word, the last word, and all important rules, and then we have the exceptions here of what not to capitalize. So looking at this, you should have capitalized the words or the letters that I am underlining here. So this one, Songs of the Lonesome Cowboy, the S in songs, the L in lonesome, and the C in cowboy should all be capitalized. These here of the fall into this idea of a short preposition and an article, so they are not capitalized. Now for number 2, the and the T in the and the G in Godfather. Now the is capitalized even though it says here what not to capitalize under articles, because it is a first word of a title. It fits within the rule that it needs to be capitalized. Okay, now in this last one, To Kill a Mockingbird, we capitalize the T in to, the K in kill, and the M in mockingbird. Now remembering here that the A is left out because it fits into the articles, but the to, even though it's a short preposition that we see up here, because it is the first word of a title, it still fits into this realm of it must be capitalized. Okay? So now that we've done the capitalization, we're going to focus on the idea of what to actually focus on next. How should it actually be written? So yes, we look at this idea of what gets capitalized. Now, the other thing that we need to look at is this idea of italics or quotation marks. Now, italics specifically applies when you are typing something. When you are handwriting it, it should be underlined. Okay? And here you're going to have to deal with my really bad handwriting when I'm using a mouse to write this. So, when you type it, it's italicized. When you handwrite it, it's underlined. Okay? Now, this, if you look at these as two different pies, we have a whole pie and we have what we call a piece of a pie over here. So in this whole pie, things that are larger in scope, these are things that need to be italicized or underlined. We have books. They're large pieces. They're whole pieces. Movies. They are longer aspects of it. TV and radio programs, like these are your TV series, your Breaking Bad, your Prison Break, your Vampire Diaries. Those are your TV shows. Periodicals and newspapers. Periodicals is this idea of magazines. Newspapers fit in with the same idea here. Los Angeles Times, 17, those are all perfect examples of these. Long musical compositions, so like Beethoven's Ninth, that is a long composition. It goes on forever, so it actually has different pieces to it. So that piece goes into the piece part, but the whole aspect here goes with this. Now, musical albums and CDs. So yes, Taylor Swift released a new album. Yes, it was called 1989. 1989 is the name of the album or the CD, so that would actually be underlined. Now, the song, if you notice over here, when we are looking at short aspects, so this would go actually here in like the single TV episodes, would be the same thing with like the single songs. It would actually go into that same idea of, because it's a single song that goes with the full album. Okay, cartoon series, Family Guy, Cleveland Show, any of those, that's a cartoon series. So that whole series fits into the same idea of TV and radio programs. Now, artwork. Artwork has many different aspects. It could be paintings, it can be sculptures. There are many different aspects to this. They are all bigger works of art, so they are italicized or underlined. Now, the last aspect here is plays. These are longer pieces. So you've read things like Romeo and Juliet, you've read Julius Caesar, Taming of the Shrew, all these different aspects over the years in these plays. They are larger works of literature. Okay, so the whole pieces are the important aspects. They get underlined or italicized. Remember, italicized is when you're typing, underlining is when you're handwriting. So for the purposes of this exercise, when you see it on the next page, since you're handwriting it, you're actually going to be underlining the aspects. Now, over here on the pieces aspect, this is all things that are quote marked. These are pieces of the whole or part of the whole. So we have short poems and short plays. So these are like one-act plays. This is your normal poems that you see. Longer poems that are book size go here. They fit under the books, like the Odyssey, the Iliad. They're epic poems. They're long. They're over 100 pages in length. They go here in the books, whereas the shorter pieces go here. Now, chapters, parts, and selections in books. So yes, the novel goes here, but here you have chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. If they have names, like chapter 1 in our book is called close reading. Chapter 2 is called close reading. Chapter 3 is called argument. Those would be in quotation marks, but when we're talking about the name of our textbook, it comes back over here and is whole and is either italicized or underlined. Short stories and essays. We will see a lot of short stories and essays this year, and this is where we will spend quite a bit of our time. articles in periodicals and newspapers. When you're doing research for your blogs and you're looking at the newspapers, the name of the newspaper itself, so like LA Times goes here, it would be italicized when you're typing it. But the name of the article that you're using would actually be in quote marks. Now, single TV episodes. This fits in with this idea of cartoon series and this idea of TV and radio programs. Now, each week when a new episode comes out, each episode has a title. So yes, it's Friends, or it's the show Friends, but here each episode each week has a different title. So the title of that episode, if you're trying to refer to a specific episode and not the entire series, it would actually fall into here as being a piece. Okay, now let's look at some samples. Now, the instructions here, I want you to rewrite these with the proper capitalization and with the proper punctuation. Punctuation meaning underlining and italics or quotation marks. You need to do this in your notes, and we are going to go over this in class tomorrow. So it is important that you have this. Rewrite them, rework them. It'll take you a few minutes, and one of them you might even need to do some research about. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the window down, scroll up, and let you look at it. I will give you a few minutes to go ahead and write them down, and then, or you might want to pause it so it stays on the screen without moving, and then I'm going to stop the video for today, and that is the rest of your homework. I want you to rework these samples so that tomorrow in class it can be part of our beginning discussion. Okay? So remember the instructions. There are 7 of them here. Take a moment, write them down, and make sure you write them properly. Okay, and you can look back at previous slides. Okay, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a good night. Thank you.